Welcome, conscious monkeys. Sorry, this is the first time I'm doing it. Welcome, conscious monkeys. I don't know why I find that so funny. Welcome, conscious monkeys. In this video, we are going to discuss the Hawkins Scale, which is this thing right here. We are also going to discuss 5 Stoic principles that are going to help you raise your vibration, get into good vibes, and transcend this scale to enlightenment. If this is your first time here, I'm Clayton, and on this channel we discover the truths about reality and our consciousness that haven't been taught to us and that have been left out. Alright guys, so this is the Hawkins Scale, and I'm not going to go into too much description about how it was created and how it was formed. I'll make a video on that at some point, but the key here is that there's actually like scientific data and evidence to back up this scale. All we're really going to talk about at the beginning is kind of the understanding of what all these energies are and what it essentially means and how you feel in this reality. Because this is going to what we're going to use as our baseline for understanding where we are in our consciousness and how we're going to transcend to that next level. So the best way to kind of look at this is kind of in the scaling. So starting off at the bottom here, we have shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear. All these energies that kind of hold us down into like a negative vibration. Whenever you're kind of sitting in this realm, life is kind of happening towards you. If you've seen my other video, the 3D to 5D consciousness, which I'm going to link right there, so go ahead and give that a click if you haven't seen it yet. But this is kind of where you're in more your 3D realm, where your life is kind of happening to you. We want to kind of transcend this. So now on the next stage, we have things like, I'm going to cheat here a little bit. We have anger, pride, courage. This is where it comes like a little bit more egotistical. We start to see behind the curtain of the reality that we've been fed. And this is kind of like our more 4D model. This is more of the model of, okay, we've transcended the 3D and now we're in a 4D frequency. As we kind of keep going up above and transcend this almost into our 5D selves, this is where we start to find love, acceptance, willingness. This is where we kind of just start to appreciate things for what they are. We kind of fall in love with just the idea of that the things are what they say they are. And of course, as you transcend up higher, you get into that 5D realm, you get into, I guess, just higher states of consciousness. And those would be things like your enlightenment, your peace, everything just is. You're just kind of like in that flow of life is what it is. Momento Mori. This is the first Stoic principle that we are going to discuss. Memento Mori is Latin for contemplate your death. What happens is that we usually get stuck in a place of fear down at the bottom of the Hawkins Scale because we don't think about the fact that we're mortal. We can have a tendency to want to escape that. And you kind of can see this in movies too, because sometimes you'll have like the villain who wants to transcend death. He never wants to die. He wants to be immortal. He wants to be godlike. The fact of the matter is that we're human. We're living a human experience. People have a tendency to associate the idea of death being the opposite of life, when in reality, the opposite of death is birth. Look at any kind of like well-made Hollywood movie. The ones that are really well-made, usually when someone dies, you'll see a birth of somebody else. I was just watching Jessica Jones, and I guess it's a little bit of a spoiler, but somebody dies, an evil person dies or gets killed, and then a good person kind of comes back to life, or they wake up from a coma essentially. And so I just want to kind of make that parallel that all these great movies, they make those parallels. So the key here is to understand is like, how can you contemplate your death? Now, as an example, one thing that you can do, and this is something that I do myself, is I actually write down the days until I am 90. Now, I'll be lucky if I get to 90. The average person doesn't live that long, but I'm living a healthy life. I'm doing everything I can. And so what this does is this conceptualizes how long until you actually become 90. If you're about 30 years old, you're only looking at about 21,000 days or 22,000 days until you are 90. And this can be a kind of a sobering feeling. However, this feeling is actually higher transcendence above fear, because now you're actually contemplating your death and you're now transcending out of the 3D. Whereas before you were in a fear of it. But now that you're contemplating the fact that you'll die, this actually is a motivating factor and can move you up the chart and out of fear. The second Stoic principle is accept your fate. We have a tendency to want things to be better. We have a tendency to want things to be different. You can usually see this if you're sitting in the shame or guilt section of the Hawkins Scale, where you're guilty, or you wish you had done something different, or you wish you had handled something a different way, or you were in a different place or different energy of some sort. However, what the Stoics teach us is that we want to accept our fate, accept that this happened to us, and accept that it's all happening for our best selves. The fact that this occurred is an indication that we are able to learn from it for the next time. Now, if you keep making the same mistake again, well, that's a whole nother conversation. But the point here, and what the Stoics teach us, is to accept that this is what's in our best interest. And even just in this language, acceptance transcends you up the Hawkins Scale, and we move you higher to enlightenment. Just by accepting our fate, accepting these things happen, can move you from shame, guilt, fear, all the way up to acceptance, which is huge. This is like 4D type stuff. The Stoics were genius, and they didn't even know about the Hawkins Scale. The third Stoic principle that we want to discuss is that we don't control events, only what they mean. We hold on to events and we want to be able to be in control. It gives us a sense of power if we're able to control the event. In reality, we are mere consciousness experiencing these events, and we only can do is associate meaning to events. So if we want for our fate, like we discussed in the last point, to kind of transcend, is we just need to accept the events as they were, but assign a meaning to them that holds power and understanding approach to the world. And whenever we decide that we don't control events, we can only control what they mean, this actually gives us a lot of power in making the change between good and bad. Because the difference between good and bad is purely in our mind. It's a time thing. Okay, well, it's, let's say bad that something happened, or it's good that something happened. I talk about this a lot with, when you kind of look at maybe like the 19th century, I think a lot of people associate, well, it was terrible what, Hitler did. It was terrible what Stalin did. It was terrible what Mao did. Millions died. But there's a way you can reframe that, and there's a way you can associate a positive meaning to it. It's that, well, that taught us that we should not be going too far to the right or too far to the left. The answer for pretty much everything tends to be in the middle. If we try to overcompensate and go too far left or too far right, millions of people die. I know that this can actually be kind of a difficult concept to understand. I'll make a video in the future about this. But with that being said, you should, if you want to be notified of when that happens, hit the subscribe button, click the bell, because that'll give you it. But definitely smash the like button. It helps this video, gets it to more helpful people. If you learned anything so far, please smash it as we're going along. Stoic principle number 4, make a habit of looking inward. This is something that I practice every day and every night. And it's purely the practice of meditation. Look inward. Your body is a reflection of your outer reality. As above, so below. So everything that's on the outside of us, the same exact thing is happening at an internal level as well. This is where the power of meditation comes in. We're able to kind of look at our emotions and see what's going on. We're able to play with them a little bit more and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? What's making me feel this way? Does it mean that I need to kind of adjust and correct where I'm going in life? The beauty with looking inward is that we can associate this scale. If we find these energies and these negative, like anger, shame, fear, guilt, if we notice those and we need to transcend those, something I highly recommend everyone does, go meditate. It's something like everyone should meditate for 15 minutes a day. And if you don't have time to meditate, you should meditate for an hour. I love that quote. Our fifth Stoic principle is that anger will not serve you. Anger will never help you. And this is quite frankly true. Actually, I see this a lot in American culture where we have a tendency to get angry, and it gives us like this sense of power in a sense. Still trying to figure that out. But actually help me out with that. Drop a comment below if you have noticed whenever people get angry around you. I've actually been noticing this a lot in Hollywood films where anger is kind of used as this like machismo effect. And I hate the word. I've never really understood the phrase toxic masculinity, but I think that anger is a huge aspect of toxic masculinity. And quite frankly, if we go back to our chart, where does anger sit on this scale? It's not at the top. And science has also actually proved this. Science has actually proved that things like negative reinforcement doesn't work. It stunts growth, it stunts learning, and it's actually contributed to a lot of I don't know if you've done research into, things like criminal minds and these sort of pathological or sociopaths, or these people who become killers, is that anger was a huge cornerstone of their bedrock, and it's all they knew. And so it kept them in these low vibration frequencies. Furthermore, science has shown that like positive reinforcement, positive encouragement has always helped people transcend and become the best version of themselves. All right, this was 5 things that the Stoics can help you with in transcending to your consciousness to a higher vibration, raise your vibes. And a super important note is that this is not something that's constant. It's not like you get to enlightenment and then you're just like, sweet, we're here. No, you still deal with the outside world. There's events that occur. There's your life. You want to create a routine. All these different things go on. There's other people who aren't at enlightenment, and so they're not going to be helping you stay there. You run into someone who's angry, they're not going to be pushing you up towards enlightenment because they don't know it. They're just going to be trying to pull you down. So I think it's super helpful and super important to take note that just because you get to enlightenment at one point in your life doesn't mean you stay there. We're still 3D creatures in this 3D reality. We're having a human experience, and just the sheer fact of nature is going to pull us down into that 3D realm. It's not going to be permanent. So all you can do is use these principles every day if you can, and transcend that reality. So with that being said, conscious monkeys, I still laugh when I say that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.